Everybody online says that making sourdough and sourdough starter is so easy. So let's see if they are right. Now, this is a step-by-step guide to making a sourdough starter for beginners by a beginner. Yes, that's right. I have never made a sourdough or a starter.
Okay, future Alex here. Funny thing happened after this video. I made the starter in the video you are about to watch in February, and I actually had to make a second starter at the beginning of May because the shower cap thing that I was using got mold on it, and I kind of got paranoid that it touched the starter, so I started a new one. But here's the interesting part. My second starter is way better, like wildly more active. And honestly, it's because I was editing and making this video, and I did not make a lot of the mistakes you are about to watch me make. So yes, this video is about the psychological ups and downs of learning sourdough as a beginner. But at the end, I will also show you what I changed to make a much stronger starter the second time around.
Let's get sourdough started!
All right, welcome to day one. This is supposed to be super easy. We're gonna do 60 grams of flour, any kind of flour, and 60 grams of water. I have 3 types of flour, so I'm gonna use a combination of 3. I'm told whole wheat and rye are the best because they have the wild bacteria, but if you only have all-purpose is okay. So let's just put a nice mix. Let's put this on our scale, zero it out, and add, let's say 25 grams of this whole wheat flour. We're just gonna add 24 grams of this. Okay, and get this up to 60 grams, 4 more grams of flour. Okay, 62 grams of flour. We're gonna zero it out and add 62 grams of water. Okay, there we go. 63 grams of water. We're gonna be okay. And I'm told if you use all-purpose, it'll look like pancake batter, but if you use whole wheat or rye, it'll look more like Play-Doh. This should be a combination of the two. Mix it up until there are no dry spots, and I think, oh, no, you gotta really mix it up. Okay. Okay, now we just have to loosely cover it, not seal it up, so I got this little hat. And that is the end of day one. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, day 2, and I am told that I don't need to feed it. I just need to pop this open, and I'm just gonna give it a nice mix. One of the creators said it might just feel a little looser, which it does. So I'm just gonna give it a nice mix it around. And she was talking about how it lowers the pH when you starve it for this one day, which could kill all the bad bacteria and keep all the good bacteria. So now that I've mixed this up, what they don't talk about is cleaning this thing and getting everything back into the jar. There we go. All right, that's as good as it gets. All right, I am killing it here on day 2. I will see you tomorrow. All right, it's day 3, and it's very cool. There are some bubbles already forming, which is kind of neat. And I feel like it's grown, like I'm getting attached to it. I understand why everyone seems to like obsess over their sourdough journey. I also am wearing a bathrobe. It's my wife's. I don't know, a lot of these creators sort of show up in a bathrobe to feed their thing, but it's 11:42 in the morning, so there's really no reason for me to be wearing this bathrobe other than to just get into it. So I'm told I need to remove half of what's in here, and I didn't measure this container, but I put 60 grams of water, 60 grams of flour about, so I'm gonna remove 60 grams of starter, and I'm told not to throw it down the sink because that'll clog it up. So, oh yeah, it looks good. Oh, look. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks all stretchy right now. That's a good sign. Okay, but let's get rid of 60. That's 25. Oh, that's... It smells so interesting. I don't even know how to describe it. I honestly don't. I don't even know how to describe that. Some say like it smells like nail polish, but it doesn't. It smells a little whole wheaty funk. Okay, 62 grams, not bad. Let me get a new spoon. So there's 60 in there. I gotta put 60 flour. Some prepared water here from the Brita. $42, $51. They've been doing this for thousands of years, okay? So it doesn't have to be exact. So let's just scrape this down, keep the sides clean, and give it a nice mix. Okay? And that's day 3 for you. Cover it up and I'll see you tomorrow. It is day 4 and my set came with this thing where you can see when I last fed it, which was yesterday, Friday around 12. So it is Saturday around 10 o'clock, doing it a little earlier. I just fed my kids and now I have to feed my starter. My wife was joking that it's like having a 4th kid. So there is 180 grams in here. From what I recall, and we're going to remove about 120 and put in 60 grams of flour and 60 grams of water. So it's looking really good. There's some bubble action. I must have mixed it all up, but I'm gonna remove 120 grams.
This is I know this is do you know this is this thing?
Yeah. The Maternator? The what?
No, the zapper. I mean, so I can zap anyone I want to do.
Uh-huh. I've removed only about 90 just because it looks like I'm taking out too much, and I'm going to still be adding 60 and 60 and see if that's a problem. I think the removal aspect is so that it just doesn't overflow, so I don't think that this will be a problem. So I prepared this because the kids are here and I have to do this quickly. So this is whole wheat flour, and I added a little rye. He is at the neighbors.
Can I go to neighbors?
I don't think we can just go to the neighbors, sweetie. Hold on.
I like them.
I like them too. Okay, I am just cleaning up. I'm putting on the cap, and that is day 4. Boom, day 5 here, and it looks fine. They say not to expect much. I see a couple of bubbles, nothing crazy. Doesn't even smell that funky anymore. But I'm told it's just a regular feeding, so I'm gonna scoop out 120 grams. Smells whole wheaty. It doesn't look like much, and there are only a few bubbles. So I don't know if I'm as far along as some of the other creators. I don't see any mold, so that's a good thing. And all I'm gonna do is just remove 120 grams. And then I have 70 grams and 70 grams. So I'm putting a little bit more for the feeding, but I don't think that's gonna be a problem. So let's do this. One of the big challenges I'm finding on day 6 is just remembering to do it, because it's about noon, so it's around the time that I'm supposed to feed them, but I almost forgot. So let's set that on this little band. Move the arm down, and I'll see you on day 7. Boom, day 7 here now, and ooh, a little more funky, very whole wheaty. It has, looks like it's grown a bit, a little higher than this mark here, and it is looking pretty funky against the wall. So look, I've had goldfish as a kid, and I always knew that every once in a while you had to take the goldfish out, clean the bowl. So that's what I'm gonna do here. And then once we're done, I'm told today is the day we can sort of feed it a little bit more. So here I put 100 grams of flour and 100 milliliters of water instead of the usual 60. So if you'll just excuse me, I'm going to clean this out and we'll go from there. Nice and clean, although I know why a lot of creators don't do that. The starter was basically like clinging on to dear life. So that took me a little bit of time to get everything clean, but I feel good about this. And now I can put 50 grams of my starter back in and 100 grams of flour and 100 milliliters of water. Anytime if you've ever seen me finish this video without putting the shower cap on, I want to let you know that this bad boy has been on every single day, and that is day 7. Boom, day 8. It is looking really good. I got a lot of bubble activity going on, and it puffed up real high. I don't know if it collapsed or dropped. It looks pretty high. The line is right here, and it got a little lower than this little crusty part here. And I'm super happy I cleaned it out. It makes me feel much better, so I highly recommend that. Cleaning it out, you can switch containers or just pop it into a little bowl, clean it out, and then put it back in. So I'm going to now empty out all this and just keep a little bit of discard. Look how gooey and stretchy it is, and I think that's a good sign. And it does not smell funky at all. It smells real like wheaty and yummy. It smells fine, and I will see you tomorrow. Boom, boom, day 9. I am starting to lose track of time. I can understand this is starting to feel like a chore. I guess I understand now why they call it a journey, because it really does take a lot of time. Some people will say a starter is like, oh, 7 days, 14 days, but sometimes I see people feeding their starters like 20, 21, 22 days. So I'm not even at the halfway point. I'm almost there. But what we're gonna do is I am seeing activity and it is getting a bit of a rise, but it's not doubling, so I don't think it's there yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna empty out a significant portion, and then I'm gonna add 70 grams of flour, which is a combination of whole wheat, and I'm switching to regular all-purpose flour. This helps build up the bacteria, but this can help give it more of a neutral flavor, I guess. Or you could stick with whole wheat and rye the whole way through, but apparently this is a little bit cheaper, and switching it over gradually will just make things a little easier. And I've decided to use not just room temperature water, but lukewarm. So I made this a little warmer than normal. And this is also 70 grams. So let me empty this out so that I can give it a double feeding. Oh, look how stretchy it is. I like that. That's good. And then let's just remove it and feed it. Regular flour doesn't absorb as much water as whole wheat, so it might feel a little bit looser. And here's the time where I'm going to tell you that, like, I am starting to lose track of what day it is. It is day 9, as I said earlier. But I want to say that, like, I can understand why people start to get obsessed about their starter and they start naming them, because you really are investing quite a bit of time putting this all together. So hopefully I can stay sane and not turn into like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Oh, my precious. All right, we'll see how this goes. I'll see you on day 10. Boom, day 10. All right, so why are we doing this? I feel like at the 10-day mark, we're at a halfway point. It could take longer, it could happen sooner, but I've heard some people going as far as 20, 21, 22 days to make a starter. And so maybe I'm at the halfway point, but these feelings of frustration are real, because I was like, is this even working? My house is colder than anticipated. So I wanted to at least mark it. It is at the 100 milliliter mark. That's 20 milliliters of starter, 40 grams of flour, and then 40 grams of water. That's 100. So I've marked it here. I want to see if it gets to 200 in like 8-9 hours. So at the end of the day, I'm going to put on its little shower cap. I want to get to a point where I feel like this is progressing. Otherwise, I'm just feeding flour and water to this thing, and this thing won't do anything. So otherwise, this just feels useless or a waste of time. But I also don't want to get to a point where I'm like, my precious starter. But maybe I do. Maybe I really want to get to a point where I just make a loaf of sourdough. But I'm definitely getting to a point where I understand why everyone calls this a journey. So day 10, 100 milliliters. Let's check tonight to see if it hits 200. Boom. All right, it is 9 hours later, and I am checking on this. Look, there's 100, and it's almost doubled. Almost doubled. So I'm going to attribute that to probably the cold temperature, but I am seeing bubbles, which is super cool and very encouraging. So I'm actually going to just feed it quite a bit tomorrow and then see if I can get it to like poof up a lot. And then if it does that, I think it's ready for a sourdough. It's exciting. Day 10 is a success. Boom, day 11. It's a little busy here in the house. Shower cap off. Okay, so it has almost doubled. I showed you last night that it almost got half. So I'm gonna take this out, clean it up. I'm gonna keep 40 grams of starter, and then I'm going to add 90 grams of flour, which is a mix of whole wheat and regular flour, and 90 milliliters of lukewarm water. And I'm hopefully gonna get it to poof up quite a bit. So today's day 12. I gotta do it really quickly, but I'm basically doing another feeding. I'm at 1.6 times, and it really should double at the 4 to 8 hour mark. And my house is very cold, so I'm gonna try to keep it in a warm spot. So I'm gonna do 40 grams of starter and then 90 AP and whole wheat. Keeping it whole wheat keeps that bacteria going. And then I'm gonna do a bit more warmer water. So I'm adding the water first, and then quickly gonna add the flour. Boom, day 13, we are back and things are looking really good. I was a little discouraged because it wasn't doubling, but yesterday I did put it in my oven with the light on and over 8 hours it did get to doubling its size. It did take a lot longer because my house is actually really cold and I'm going to put it in the oven so it can actually double. So I feel like I'm getting really close. I feel like day 13 and day 14, I'm gonna get really good results. But in order to do that, I'm putting 90 grams of whole wheat and AP flour, and I'm using a little more water, so it's 95 grams of lukewarm Brita water or whatever, not tap water. So I don't wanna make sure that's too hot. All right, so I have cleaned out the jar, probably more than I should have, but it gives me a nice fresh start. And I probably should have told my past self this, but it is always good to measure it 406 grams before you start, so you kind of know exactly what is in there. And also some people like to measure it with this. So this is 44 grams and then together it is 449. Okay, not sure, but I don't. I'm gonna be very careful. I'm gonna zero this out. Shower cap on. There's about 220 to 225 grams of starter in here. We'll see what 8 hours brings. Boom, day 14. It's been 2 weeks. And I am frustrated. I am frustrated because like I don't even know where to go on this journey, right? The journey. It's not quite doubling. It's been 2 weeks. And here's where I'm at. Last night I was sort of checking social media again to see what people are saying about how to make a sourdough starter. And there's just so much information that contradicts each other all the time. Like one lady, she has like a micro bakery, super nice lady, super informative and great videos. But she was just saying like, hey, you shouldn't be feeding them more than a 1-to-1 ratio because it's still a baby starter. And I was like, oh my God, I'm feeding it 1-2-2. What do I do? So I messaged her. She was nice enough to respond something. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go back to 1-1-1, which I'm gonna do today on day 14. And then she responded like something like, do you have a microwave? And then said something else not related to the microwave. And I was like, well, I do have a microwave, but I've been putting it in the oven, if that's what you're gonna refer to. Like don't mention a microwave and then not say what to do with that microwave. Like don't just leave me microwave hanging over there. What about the microwave? So then anyway, this morning she responded, but it was a link to a video, which you can't copy and paste in the comments. So like I copied that link and then put it in the search, and I still don't know what to do about the microwave. I don't know what to do with the microwave. And then there's this other lady. She's not measuring at all. She's like free balling everything. She gets this massive jar, okay? And she says, we're not even gonna discard it. She just like scoops up flour, scoops up water, pancake batter, 5 days. She's gonna do it on the 5th day. And on the 5th day, it just explodes. It's just like all over the place. She's like, oh my God. And then she gets a new jar and she takes some of that. And then on the 6th day, she's like, we have an active starter on 66. Oh my, how? You weren't even measuring in science and chemistry. And the other lady is like, it's all chemistry. You got to put in a little, you got to feed it 1-1-1. And then eventually when it's a little more mature, 1-2-2, and then 1-3-3, and then 1-4-4, and then 1-5-5, and then 1-10-10. 10? 10? Like how lit? Oh my God. Oh God. Oh God. I'm like having an existential crisis here. Okay, so day 14. I got 50 grams of flour this time. I'm using mostly bread flour now. Only about 10 grams of whole wheat. And I got about 50 grams of warm water. So I'm just gonna scoop this out. Can I be honest? The hard part with this stuff is like when you watch these videos, like every other video is like them trying to sell you something. Just something. Just feels dystopian. Just gonna put its little hat on. My wife was joking with me that this is very much like our kids that doesn't listen to anything I ask it to do, and I'm only asking it to double. So, will you please double? Just double. Double within 4 hours. We'll see you tomorrow. Boom. Boom, day 15, and time has no meaning. Although I did find this cool sticker to put on to see the temperature. Not 100% sure it works, but I put it on because I'm part of the journey. I'm losing faith. I really don't know if I'm supposed to do 1-to-1-1 or 1-to-2-2, so I might just go back to 1-to-2-2 because there are another couple of videos said, hey, that a starter at 14 days with, good bubbles, And like it's starting to ooze out a bit. Can handle it. There's like some activity. But it's not doubling. It's not doubling. So anyway, I will check on it in 8 hours to see if it doubled to 500. And I will see you tomorrow. Boom, day 16. It still hasn't doubled, but on a positive note, there are a lot of delicious looking bubbles in there. Look how that's peeling away. That is awesome. It is looking really good. I don't know why I'm so fixated on it doubling, and it has to double for like 2 or 3 days to make sure that it's alive and well. It's a new day, day 16. Boom, day 17. All right, we have some really active culture here. It smells really good. There's some cool bubbles. It's spongy. It just hasn't doubled. My hope is a little more reinvigorated because a lot of the stuff that you see online, everyone wants to be an expert. They all want to sell you stuff. They all have micro bakeries and they all have bake sales, and some of them measure and some of them don't care. But I want to let you know what's like psychologically going on every single day. They don't really talk about when you're this far into the journey, because they'll just be like, and then just keep feeding it for day 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11, and 12 until you get a starter. Or they'll do it until 7 days. They'll get an active starter, and they're like, well, just keep feeding it from day 7 to 14 until you get an active starter. And then you're like, what? How do I feel? Well, let me tell you, day 14 and 15 kind of sucked. Day 16 was like kind of weird. And then now day 17, I'm feeling much better. You know, day 16, I was feeling a bit better, but now I'm feeling very confident that I don't need this to double 100%. See you tomorrow. Boom, today's day 18. I'm putting 40 grams of starter and 80 grams of just bread flour this time, no whole wheat, and 80 milliliters of warm water. And I think today is the last day. Sorry, it is a little bit busy. Give me a second, sweetie. It is a little bit busy, and I think I'm ready to make a sourdough at this point. It is not doubling consistently, but it is getting close. It is bubbly. It smells good. So there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't double consistently 3 days in a row. But
touching it is very bad.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll put this in. Put the water in first.
Why do you say it's day 18?
Oh, it's day 18 of me making a sourdough starter. And I think I got it. I think I'm going to start making bread with it.
Starter hasn't doubled. It looks spongy. There are some bubbles. Well, let's give this a shot.
Yesterday was Sunday. It was day 19. And it was a whole thing. So on day 18, I decided I'm just going to make a sourdough with the starter. It smells, it's bubbling. It wasn't doubling 3 days consistently. But I said, you know what? I just have to see what's happening. And so I made a levain. And I fed it 144, and it did not look ready. So I ended up using most of my starter and then feeding that starter on that day 19 Sunday just to get it back up again, because I used most of it, if not all of it, which makes sense. But I ended up making a loaf really early in the morning on Sunday at like 6 o'clock I started. And by the time I was done, I got in my head that like, I'll feed my starter again to build it up again, and then I'll use that to make a second loaf and compare that. So I have 2 loaves in the fridge. I have the oven preheating. My first loaf, this has been proofing in the fridge for about 20 hours. I wasn't 100% confident about the starter, so I kind of pivoted and used my mother's starter and not the levain that I had made, but they got these nice crispy little parts. I'm really nervous to cut this apart because I've seen videos where it's like gooey on the inside. So okay, it's like cool holes. Feels a little dense. Not bad for a first try. All right. Smells good, smells tangy. A little on the chewy side. Not bad. It's not great, but it is good. Had a nice little ear, popped up a little higher. Let's give this a crack. Whoa. I was worried it would like pour out or something. I don't even know if that's AI. Smells good. Looks like a dense crumb. So I got a lot to learn, but let's give this a taste. A little doughy. All right, it's okay for a first try, but that's why they call it a journey. Day 21, we are at the end. We did it. And why are we at the end? Well, for starters, I have a pretty active starter. I was too tired to actually discard anything, so I dumped it out, and it almost doubled. And I'll get to that in a second. But I have some very active bubbles. It is spongy. It is very, very, very much alive. So that is very exciting. And I did make 2 loaves yesterday. Now, were they perfect, amazing bakery quality? I can start my own micro bakery loaves? Probably not, but these were my first loaves and I did it from start to finish. It took me 20 days, now 21. But I think my expectations were a little high for myself because we ate a half of a loaf, almost a quarter of what I made. My daughter said it was the best loaf she ever had, which was amazing to hear, such a sweet compliment. And my family really enjoyed the bread. And when I was tasting it at first, I think I was a little too critical because, like I said, my expectations were too high on, oh, it's springy, it's doughy. This is cooked through, okay? It smells like sourdough. It tastes like sourdough. And to be honest, it has been a long time since I went to the bakery and bought a loaf like this. So I'm super proud of myself. I can keep feeding this and keep making these videos, but it seems like I brought you through from day 1 all the way to the most important part, and that's using your starter and making your first loaf. And hoping it turns out good or good enough, at the very least edible, but you won't know until you try.
Before we end this, remember how I told you I had to make a second starter? Well, here it is. And honestly, this one is way better and stronger than my first one ever was. It was consistently doubling around day 6 through 8.
Whoa, day 6. Look how high it is. Oh my God.
This is my second starter. It is day 8. Yesterday I started doing peak-to-peak feeding, and it has been 4 hours and it has already doubled. So far, so good.
And then by day 10, I was already baking with it. And I know, with everything you just saw in that video, it's hard to believe, but I will talk about it a little bit more near the end. So what changed? First, I stopped chasing everybody else's timeline. Everybody on social media is well-intentioned for the most part, but you should really use them as a guide, okay? I'm starting to pay attention more to my starter, my kitchen, the temperature in my kitchen, my ingredients. Let me show you my setup, okay? I have a scale. I think it's a lot better to be more accurate when you're starting out than just eyeballing it with a tablespoon, all right? Then I have this jar. It has smooth sides, and I have this scraper to get at those sides. Those are always helpful, but I have a metal lid, no more cloth cap. Now, when it comes to the flours, I mostly use bread flour with a little whole wheat and rye mixed in. Rye is packed with nutrients and wild yeast. It is a cheat code, so take advantage of that. And I keep the flour mix in an old yogurt container. Okay, so like when I'm feeding it, it's just a lot easier than fishing out the bags every single time. So I just pop it into this container, close it up, and then mix it. And after feeding, if it gets really low, I can just refill it at my own leisure, okay? When it comes to feeding, I have stayed around a 1-to-1-to-1 feeding ratio until the starter consistently doubled. So for example, I do 25 grams of starter, 22 milliliters of water, always a little bit less, and then I mix that up, and then I add 25 grams of my flour mix. Now, maybe I'll do a proper starter video as a follow-up to this if necessary, but instead of feeding it more food, like jumping to a 1-to-2 ratio, or some people will say 1-3-3 ratio when you're building a starter, I eventually learned that it was way better to feed it more frequently, okay? What's called peak-to-peak feeding. That also helps strengthen the starter, which is great. And I used filtered water, all right? Do not let anyone tell you that all tap water is the same. Tap water in LA is different than in Detroit. Montreal l'eau is different than Mexican agua. Every kitchen is different. Every environment is different. I also learned that temperature matters a lot more than I realized. My first starter was made in colder weather when my house was in like the high 60s, low 70s. And my second starter was around the mid 70s, okay? And that made a huge difference. And honestly, the biggest thing I learned is that sourdough is less about following rules and more about learning how to observe. The bubbles on the side, the doming on the top, or even the eventual collapse, like reading your starter. This new starter isn't a mature starter, but it's doing a really good job so far, and it's only been a month in. Just remember, no starter is truly ready by day 5. Early on, it's still stabilizing and building strength. It's getting rid of the bad bacteria and building up the good bacteria. But by day 10, if it is consistently doubling and acting predictably, you can absolutely start baking with it and learning from it. Because you should know, there is a lot to learn just in making the sourdough once you have the starter. I'm still trying to figure out overproofing, underproofing, shaping, scoring, bulk fermentation, all of it, okay? But I am getting a lot better. This is loaf 11, this is loaf 12, and honestly, that's part of the process too. You just have to get the starter. Look, if I can end on anything, there are so many people online sharing sourdough advice. And some of those people are amazing teachers. And some of those people are honestly kind of weird. And all of that can get overwhelming when you're just trying to make your first loaf of bread. So I hope this video helped even a little bit, and that my failure and eventual success will inspire you to get started with your starter.